Let me show you guys how to get your crypto taxes done.
All right, mic check, mic check. I think we're pretty much good. Thank you all for your patience. Apologize for being a little late here. Just getting situated. Had dinner real quick. Got the chat going on the side. Sharon, thanks for popping in. Hope you're doing well. Meagle, Sam to you. Thanks for being here. All right, and just like that, we're live. Thank you so much for joining me. Hoping to have a good stream. Oh, one quick thing. One quick thing. I'm just like ripping out all the cords for some reason by accident, but okay. Now we're good. Now we're good. The water bottle out of the way, get situated. It's looking a little choppy on my screen. I hope it's not for you guys. But we're just getting situated here. Still learning about my desktop, technologically challenged at times, but it is what it is. I'm just keep working through it, trying to improve things. Stream's current byte rate is more than okay. See, I gotta look into that. But I think it seems like everything's running all right for now. Just moving forward, I definitely want to touch on this more. This Yobik thing I was talking about last stream. Definitely want to like kind of summarize it. And I watched. They also have a video that I watched, so you could watch like the full thing. I have a few GameStop and representatives on there just talking about like what it means for the business. But at this point, obviously what's on everyone's mind is earnings, right? And we saw some pretty significant movement in the stock today at the open, then kind of dipped down, and then was up again. Like I just checked it around 10, and I was like, oh, what's going on here? Like I didn't even see what was happening. I could truly say like I'm numb to the price action where it feels like 15% is nothing. I mean, also, $2 relative to movements in the past is relatively small. So it's all relative, right? To how you want to look at it. But to me, I'm numb to it at this point. I think there's many other individuals in the same boat where when I say I'm numb to it, like I just don't think too hard about the short-term price action. And even, going into earnings tomorrow, don't get me wrong, I'm very excited. I do think it's going to be a profitable quarter. It's going to be strong enough profitable on the bottom line where it's going to make full year 2023 profitable. That's my theory. Maybe work with some numbers later, definitely possibly tomorrow. If you guys haven't already, smash the like button. And then also, if you could follow me on Twitter or X, whatever you want to call it these days, definitely posting updates on there. And I put these like infographics out. So just got to keep growing the channel, doing the right things. But tomorrow I'm also going to be live starting at 1 p.m. Eastern, all the way up until earnings, all the way up till the earnings call. So it should be a fun day. I'm going to try and plan some fun stuff throughout the day, go through some possibilities for the numbers, some of the things that might happen. But at the end of the day, no matter what happens, I like the stock for the long term. So the short term, there's going to be ups and downs. And tomorrow I definitely expect volatility in terms of the price and probably for the rest of the week. But the truth is, no matter how good or bad earnings are, you don't truly know what's going to happen to the stock price, right? Like, it could be worse than expected earnings. Stock goes crazy for whatever reason. Earnings are like awesome, better than expected, better than the market's anticipating, whatever, however you want to look at it. And then all of a sudden, the stock will just be tanking, right? So, stock price isn't always correlate to the earnings performance, although it feels like, and it's still of my opinion that if the earnings is good, right, and shows a net profit and is greater than the analyst expectation, which I think is 25 cents per share right now, which even they're guiding for a profitable quarter if that's the case, because I have some rough numbers here. And this is thoughts as of 3-8, so it doesn't necessarily mean I think these are the numbers now, but It's just where I have it. So the analyst estimate for Q4 is 24 cents. If that were the case, it would be 5 cents net EPS for the full year. And essentially, that means analysts are even saying that they're expecting the full year to be profitable. See, 5 cents right here. And then my estimate at this time would be 21 cents if they got 40 cents for the quarter. But my point is, if they do turn a net profit, I think that's an extremely bullish sign to the market and just investors as a whole. Of course, they'll have to maintain that going into 2024, and I would love to see a net profit in 2024 again, and I really do think it's important. But, one step at a time. So we'll see what this report brings, but let this just be your quick reminder that you have to digress sometimes and then just look at the big picture. And when I also 741 right now, 741, just notice that. But you have to understand that nothing's ever for certain. So you just have to, and then in the moment, things feel intense. There's a lot of reactions, a lot of initial thoughts, but then when the smoke clears a little bit, sometimes you think about things differently. So I feel like during certain earnings reports, I'm like, oh my God, this is so great, this is so bad. Not even this is so great, it's so bad, but just you react one way, and then you kind of like digest a little bit. You go to sleep, you wake up the next day, right? Like you wake up Wednesday in this case, because tomorrow's Tuesday, that's when the earnings are. You wake up Wednesday, you're okay, let me look at this again with like a fresh mind, right? And you might just see a different perspective or feel like different emotions. And obviously you have to keep your emotions out of it as much as you can in terms of investing, but completely going on a rant here. But just some numbers. Let's say hi to everyone in the chat real quick. Although it doesn't want to work on the side. Oh, okay. Hi everyone. Hype is moving up. Let's go. GME ready. Jackson's thanks for being here. And yeah, exactly. GameStop had a pretty solid day today. Up 15%. This is the largest move we've had in a while. We saw it start a little bit. I think yesterday, or not really, no. But all of a sudden, we're kind of just in this range forever. We're back towards the top of it going into earnings. I mean, obviously, we'll see what it looks like going into earnings. So this was, I believe, right after last earnings report, roughly was in here. I think I do have it over here. So let's see when Q3 was. Filing date was the 6th. Let me go back over here. December 6th, right? So there was hype going into the earnings. And then after earnings, a little jump, little price action. Although if we did candles, we could see a little more. I think this was the earnings. Oh, this is the next day, right? Where it opened and then it climbed all the way up because the bottom of the candle would be where it opened and then climbed all the way up. And then here, we had some interesting activity where all of a sudden it started rising aggressively in one day, started down here, closed the day up here. Next day it gapped up here, went all the way up here, but then, wound up closing the day here. Went some volatility, then we had the actual earnings, a little bit more volatility after, and then kind of back into this range, right? After like this little rise up, little fall down, boom, 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 and this little range here, and then boom, now another spike. So could it be another situation like this? Maybe. Of course, there's so many factors at play, right? Like there's so much we don't know in terms of how the markets work. I think that's something I've learned the most from following GameStop for these years now, that you should always expect the unexpected. And with markets as a whole, there's just so much at work, so many factors and just moving parts behind the scenes that it's extremely difficult for the average individual to keep up with. And I do think in a way that's by design, but also in a way it's just how technology has continued to develop. But everyone's saying hello in the chat. Love to see it. Let's see. Good, okay. Good morning, Tetron. Damn, it's morning where you're at. It's nighttime for me, but thanks for being here. Good morning to you. When Moon, the statics, the thumbnail, all just for the vibes, right? To me, I'm a long-term investor. I'm not looking for like a moon, so to speak, or I would look at it as GameStop is one of those planets with several moons, right? Like how Earth only has one moon, and then all these other planets have all these different moons and all that. There's several moons. GameStop's just on its way to its first one, then it'll go to its next moon, then the next moon, and then the next moon. It's just on its own journey through its own galaxy. You know what I mean? Tetron for the win. Geronimo, thanks for being here. Appreciate that. Jesse, thanks for being here. Oh, let's make sure we get all chats. We're not missing anything. Chemist the haters. What's that guy on X that comments on like almost every single thing I do? He's literally just giving me free engagement. Like That's what I think haters don't realize. Like, you're boosting me. Like, you're helping more people find me. So thank you. Stonks go up. I'm John Lacey. Thanks for being here. Your words, not mine. Taco Bandit, thanks for popping in. Everyone's saying hello, the whole gang. Amber, thanks for popping in. Hope you're doing well. 741 Synchrony is off the charts lately. Geronimo, it always is. Isn't that crazy, right? It always feels like there's so many strange signs. Like, I remember, not signs, but just instances of 741 or where it could be located. It's like, what an interesting number. And anytime I see 741 on the clock, I always obviously think of GameStop. But what was the most bizarre one? It was like, remember when Ryan Cohen tweeted, what was it? Dr. Ruth, Ryan Cohen. Oh, yeah, we're not going to be able to find it, but let's see. Dr. Ruth. This was a good one. Ryan Cohen buys all the stocks. I like that. And this was a meme somebody had made. So it just shows that he's low key, like, keeping an eye on stuff going on. I mean, obviously he doesn't see everything, but he's a meme guy. Like, he definitely sees some of the stuff. Like, somebody made this and he liked it and he was like, I'm going to tweet that. And then my opinion on this tweet was, now in hindsight, I mean, I don't know anything for sure. Pure speculation here, but I feel like Carl Icahn is short, and it's a situation where keep your friends close, keep your enemies closer. And not that he's necessarily an enemy, and there's probably like some mutual respect and probably just a conversation. I don't know how it played out. Maybe Carl Icahn's not short anymore. Who knows? That's just some speculation there. But where was it? Dr. Ruth. Imagine being one of these people not even knowing you're next to the legendary Ryan Cohen. Damn. I don't even know. It was just like the Dr. Ruth's book for sex or something like that. People were like, oh, that's like DRS. Yeah. Sex for Dummies. Or it was like a reference to DRS or something like that. But what's strange, like if you look on Wikipedia for this book, I'm pretty sure literally the dimensions are like 7.4 by 1 or something just so absurd that like people just find, like, it's just funny how you can kind of like locate the number anywhere when you're really looking for it. But there's definitely some instances, right, where it's just crazy. Let's see, everyone's popping in. They love to see it. Silver moons, I like that. Yeah, thank you, Ever. Thank you. I think that's a good way to look at it, honestly. Penis, rocking hard, ready to rock. Splendidan. Is that what your name is? Splendidan. Penis, rocking hard, ready to rock. What does that even mean? But you know what? I think Ryan Cohen should be nicknamed the referee because he's looking official, man. Like, he is official. But it's so funny when like literally everyone you follow basically follows Ryan Cohen. Right? Like 270 people ish that I follow Ryan Cohen. I follow 507 though. Well, I guess I follow like a lot of like miscellaneous large accounts and stuff like that, just to keep up with things. But definitely one thing I'm going to touch on real quick is this poll I put out today. And like for refresher, probably even more votes now. Okay, well maybe not, but I did just pull it up a few minutes ago. But regardless, I'm gonna try and keep doing these posts or these polls. I'm gonna get a little more zoomed in. So, which would you prefer to see GameStop do first? Buyback shares or issue dividends? It's slightly leaning buyback shares, although there's a lot of arguments in the comments, and in a good way, right? Like I like opening the door to discussion and just kind of asking a question and let people throw in their responses. Let them place their vote. And definitely in hindsight, and I tweeted this actually like later in the day, I was like, I quote retweeted this and I said, should have added an option for neither or neither / abstain voting, I guess you could say. But also to clarify, like I'm not saying they need to do one of these things right now or, oh my gosh, I'm suddenly not bullish on GameStop or like I don't like the company anymore because they're not doing one of these two things, right? I was just curious, like what does the average GameStop investor or person that's seeing this on their feed just thinking at the moment. So I've kind of gone back and forth, and I feel like as of right now, I don't want him to do anything. And like I don't know. The point is, I don't like nobody truly knows what's best, right? Or it doesn't truly. Or like how do I put this? You want to believe in the management team because the management team is ultimately the ones that makes a decision like this. If there's going to be a share buyback, if there's going to be a dividend issued, if there's going to be an acquisition of some kind, if there's going to be money spent towards developing another aspect of the business. Maybe it's going to be more high scale stores like the Milan, Italy store that's open, right? Where it's more modernized and it has more in store experiences. Maybe focus on some higher margin items. Like, how is that store doing, right? They're definitely looking at a store like Milan, Italy. Like, okay, like, is this something we should replicate in major cities? But all in all, it really does come down to management's decision. And that's a large part why I'm investing in GameStop. I believe in management to make the right choices and guide them in the right direction in the long term. So I'm not sure how I feel about exactly what being the best thing to do, right? And we could go through some of the responses here, several different things. And inevitably, like, I just want an asset that's worth more, whether it's an asset that's cash producing or providing cash flow through a dividend. They're buying back shares and it's raising the price. Although thing with buying back shares and the nature of the share situation, that's a whole complex thing in itself, right? And then in terms of acquisitions, you don't want to acquire anything too large, or, I'm not even, there's a certain one that's out there that people still say is going to be acquired or merged or whatever, and I'm not even touching on that because, like, you say to somebody that believes in that, or like you say one thing against it, they're like, "Oh, I'm gonna attack you. Like, you're the worst person ever," right? I think you all know what I'm talking about. But to digress, let's go through some of the responses here real quick. Our earnings before market open. I'm John Lacey. After market close tomorrow, so I'll be streaming from 1 p.m. Eastern all the way up until earnings at 4, and after the earnings. So you'll catch my live reaction. Then I'll probably go to about 5 when the conference call starts, give or take. We'll see. But the number of whiners in Twitter Spaces asking for forward guidance is too damn high. No dividends or share buyback. Dear SGME, thanks for popping in. And yeah, I think you're right. Right now, neither is probably the best option. And when they do take action, to deliver shareholder value, as I believe they will, you might not even necessarily see either of these, right? And that would be the answer neither. Oh, I thought when I did book here, it was going to pull up everybody's responses in a nice book. But hello, Tetron. Let's fucking go. Chad Clifford, thanks for popping in. Yes, sir. We're literally 20 hours away at this point, right? Because if it's about 8 p.m. Eastern, or just come out around 4, we are exactly 20 hours and 7 minutes away. Well, not exactly, because it does come out shortly after, but if we wanted to do a little calculator action, right? Like, let's see. Let's do a little math here. So if we're about 20 hours, right? That would mean that we have 20 times 24. Wait, what am I doing? 20 times 60, because minutes. That would mean there's only 1,200 minutes until earnings. And then if you go again, right, you want to go seconds, 72,000 seconds until earnings. Right? Is my math there? Someone let me know if my math doesn't check out. But that's what we're looking at here. So we're getting in the time frame of earnings to be coming out. We're getting in that window of time where the earnings are almost out. But let's go through some of the replies here, because again, I like to read everyone's opinions, and in this world we live in now, where a lot of echo chambers for whatever it is, whether it's super serious stuff, not even serious stuff, people just become like so set on ideas, and it's like hard to keep an open mind sometimes, I feel like, for individuals. So I'm trying to like promote that in a way, if that makes sense. Just kind of like let people say whatever they think, but it's like you should be able to read it and like think, okay, I agree or disagree, without being like, ah! And like as you said, like I'm sure there's plenty of people in Twitter Spaces right now. Like shout out to Platinum Sparkles. I was in her space for a little bit on my way home from work. I don't know what happened after I left, but there was people just discussing some stuff, and it wasn't anything like that at that time. And I see GameStop's also got one going, so I'm definitely not the only one talking about GameStop right now, right? But I'm sure X and Twitter's got all the crazies, right? Not to say other social media platforms don't, but I'm sure there's people shouting from the rooftops like, "We need guidance. We need to know what's happening, this and that." And it is what it is, right? Everyone's gonna have a different opinion, but I just want to go through some of the comments here, because by reading what you guys say, like I continue to learn and gain perspective. So Kanwa Yen said, if the only choices are between these two, the only correct answer is to buy back shares every time. Dividends are value destructive, capital inefficient, and typically result in a proportional drop in share price. Investors looking for dividend like returns are in the wrong era. Many will hate this, but those seeking dividend like returns could have been using a covered call strategy on every pop share price for the past 3 years consecutively. Covered calls pay premiums, prevent sharp drawdowns, and counterintuitively help manifest higher share prices due to stability. So, it's an interesting take for sure. And I definitely get where that's coming from in terms of the buybacks. And then with the dividends, like I see what this individual's saying, where dividends being paid, that's cash leaving the company. So in a way, it is value destructive, but at the same time, it could kind of reward shareholders. But then you also think about where it's like, if you're gonna reward shareholders right now, then like how are you really gonna build towards the future if you're sending the money out in terms of dividends, right? So definitely thought, this is a good answer right here. Or when I say good answer, I mean like I respect the in-depth thought right here, and it was, I believe, the most liked response to this. So I almost got ratioed. No, I'm just kidding. Though I wouldn't really say it's like a ratio. I just put out a poll, so I wouldn't look at it as like, oh, I got ratioed. I just asked a question. So, but I appreciate the response, Conway. Far Mako. Oh, I'm so bad at pronouncing stuff, guys. The more you watch me, the more you'll see that. I hope that Ryan Cohen has minimally doubled that 1.2 billion of the dividend of $1 every quarter, not just annually. Let Ty go out quickly and find out who is naked before the tsunami. Trillions in our hands, more stocks, more purchase in GME, more happiness for us, more squeezing the shorts. This is a little bit too optimistic in my opinion, because $1 share would be 344 million approximately, or how many shares are out there standing right now? Maybe 330 million. So got to think shares outstanding times $1. You have to pay that much. That's clearly not sustainable at this point in time. I'd love to see that 1.2 billion was doubled, unless it's been invested in something at this point. Then I hide it. It's not really possible that 1.2 billion suddenly become 2.4, right? But I think he's just an optimistic individual. Diamond Nuts, I love all the usernames too. The funny usernames get me every time. Diamond Nuts, you gotta love it. Just pointing up. I think he's probably pointing up to Conway's response though. Dividends force the naked short sellers to pay for synthetic shares, so we all buy more shares with the legit dividend that GameStop pays us, and we buy even more shares with the cash we force the hedge funds to pay us. We then lock most of this away / buy in DRS. Definitely interesting perspective. I get the idea where if GameStop is issuing a dividend, then it's a situation where anybody betting against it, whether it's a lot of people, a little bit, high short interest, low short interest, whatever the perspective, right, or whatever it is or isn't, anybody betting against the company is on the hook, through a short sale, is on the hook to pay that dividend to the borrower, or so they're the borrower. Yeah, they're borrowing. So whoever actually owns the underlying shares, they then have to pay the dividend as the short seller. Let's go back. Share buyback is good, but the NSCC, National Securities Clearing Corporation, will find a way. On the other hand, they cannot escape a cash dividend. Cash dividend all the way. Yeah, kind of what I just said there, essentially. Target, fire, skull flag emojis, cash dividend, LOL. As if they shorting hedge funds didn't have enough cash on hand to pay a dividend 10 times over, all while lowering GameStop's cash on hand. Buyback at least force real sharks back into GameStop's vault while driving share price up. See, neither, to be honest. I want profitability and then from the do a merger and acquisition. Shout out to Wallace Farts, another great name. Little nod here from Censored. Prime says none. Cash is king during economic downturns. It is not time yet. I can get behind that. I agree. Kind of what I said towards the beginning, where it's like you don't want to make any sudden moves, especially in a time period where you're still transitioning, right? Like they're getting the profitability. We have to maintain that profitability, keep taking steps to move forward. This Yobik article, which again I'll write more about and talk more about post earnings, but this is a step in the right direction. It's like a small thing, but it really is a step in the right direction. Cash is king when there's good investment opportunities. The Fed is likely to start cutting rates soon later, so downturn bottom already happened last year. Irrelevant when you're running a company that is well positioned with cash. Importantly, Importantly, is spending money with things that matter and not things that pump stock prices for no reason. Well, that cash is definitely not providing much value now with high inflation. It has been for these past 3 years. Cash doesn't provide value to a company. Glad you call yourself a bozo. That is pretty funny because his username is bozo. Uh, but I see where both of them are saying right there. And again, I'm just keeping the theme right now of just trying to keep a neutral approach and just see both sides of things. Oh wait, we just already went through this one. Oh, you can see the replies automatically. Sensor says neither. GameStop says none. Exactly, James Nunn. Keep building. The most dumbest thing you can do to a company just growing. So much misinformation out there. Also agree. This is the only correct answer. So yeah, none slash neither definitely seem to be the most popular answer. Ironically, even though ironic that it wasn't even one of the options like in the poll, right? So I might have to run back this poll, but at this point, I feel like it's kind of a poll you have to run like before earnings or after. I don't want to run it like during the earnings period. You know what I mean? Like we're kind of in that 24-hour window now. So maybe next week sometime I'll put it out there with more options like merger and acquisition, invest in themselves more, right? Maybe some other options. So stay tuned for more polls. TMP says neither. Gain and sustain profitability. Not sure I want to vote either of these options at this time. Big Cloud, fair enough. I am Quan7 says yes. Place that would require a new business model and revenue stream. Tune in for earnings tomorrow. Test your theory. Neither the power to invest their cash. Much rather see this. Neither. I'd like to see them invest $1 billion in something exciting. Could agree with that. Dividend to buy back more shares. Isn't that just kind of saying agree to both of them? But the Italian Texan Stallion. Interesting. Tell us how they plan to remain relevant. At Ryan Cohen, stop hiding behind quote unquote secrecy. All you're doing is harming shareholder interest and value. Mr. Italian Texan Stallion, I don't agree with that. I think it's definitely a unique situation, and Ryan Cohen's proved success with Chewy, although GameStop is very, very different than Chewy. I'll definitely agree with that. I think, he's not harming shareholder interest and value by not putting out information when you have a lot of people betting against you. I think keeping your cards close to your chest just makes sense, and success will have to speak for itself. And anybody that's involved in GameStop in terms of investment, I feel like pretty much has an understanding that that's how Ryan Cohen and the rest of management is going about it. If that's something you're not fond of, then it's probably not the investment for you. I think that's kind of the reality of it. I'm not sure there are even any shares to buy back. So let's start with dividends since they don't think they'll be able to explain why there's a 5, 10x total number of shares that would be possible. Maybe dividend will screw shorts, market makers and broker. Whether a company should buy back shares or issue dividends depends on factors like financial health and investor preferences. Buybacks signal undervaluation and boost EPS, while dividends offer regular income but might suggest limited growth. So this right here, guys, like if do you ever see stuff like this where it's like he's kind of just reiterating, or not like reiterating, he's just like talking about the two sides. Like I'm pretty sure this is just like a bot comment. Whether a company should buy back shares or issue dividends depending on factors like financial health, investor preferences. It sounds like if you asked like Chat GPT, uh, should GameStop buy back shares or issue dividends, like this was probably the answer they would give you. Wuhan Sun, if you are a real person, I do apologize, but this seems like very much a bot comment, right? And it's a lot of accounts like this, right? Where you see this like fellow activists, no sell, no sell, DRS, market reform. Like, I mean, I don't know. This might be an actual person, right? I'm not trying to like shit on this one individual, but I'm just saying there are a lot of bots out there, right? That like with the way AI is developing, it's getting harder and harder to spot bots, and social media platforms is harder and harder for them to stop bots because they're just evolving more and more as AI is evolving. I want a dividend, however, if the price is too slow, share buyback's good. Fair enough. I want the full luck so we can see some discoveries. Seems silly to do this after a 4-for-1 though, because dividend history and route. Possibility could be a one-time dividend. They just do like a one-time special dividend, 50 cents a share. But again, I don't think that would really fit things because, like someone said before, like if they did a $1 dividend, or I was saying before, it'd be like $300 million essentially, or more than 300 million to do that. Where's the pivot business model and provide forward guidance button? Neither. Continue to build the company, reinforce the structure. First in its revenue streams for future profitability. I want to know what the DRS count is and which companies Ryan Cohen plans to buy or invest in using $1 billion in cash. Excited for earnings tomorrow. Me too. Maybe Jimmy should invest in Bitcoin. That way we can actually become a valuable company. Addy the Daddy, another interesting username. Disagree with that, but or disagree with the fact that like they need to buy Bitcoin to become a valuable company. However, I will say like I personally kind of like the idea of them buying some Bitcoin on the balance sheet or just holding some Bitcoin on the balance sheet because I believe in Bitcoin and I think it's a true store of value. It's like I'm not going to go on and on about Bitcoin right now, right? But I do believe in it personally. However, I'm not even sure. Like, even though I absolutely definitely believe in Bitcoin and I personally hold Bitcoin, like I have a cold wallet and all, and I want self custody. With GameStop owning Bitcoin, that is like a whole situation in itself, or not situation, but it might shy some people away from being interested in the company that don't believe in Bitcoin, right? They're invested for GameStop because they believe in the company, they believe in management, so they might not like that decision, and maybe could deter investors. Might not fit exactly what they're doing. So I'm not so sure. Like as much as I love Bitcoin and personally believe in it, I'm not so sure GameStop owning Bitcoin is the best thing, if that makes sense. And I'm still kind of like thinking on that a little more as time goes on, but I think dividend would hurt worse. Neither will happen soon. I can see that. I only dividend is through T0. Okay. That will happen. Something better is coming. Okay. Neither. Just MOAS. All right. Freedom dividend. What's that guy? Andrew Yang. A drip would be perfect. Dividend reinvestment program. 1-for-1. Overstock type dividend could end the crime immediately. Both. Merger acquisition. Dividend would be moronic. What would buy back shares when there's billions of counterfeit shares in existence? Why wouldn't we want them to issue dividend left and also if they had tons of cash and short just pay them off like it's nothing? Mergers and takeovers, both options are dumb at this stage. So yeah, lots of takes out there. Definitely a lot of opinions by AP and Bioengineeric Silverback. And then my buddy here, Rip Web3 Gaming's dividends. Doesn't a company have to be consistently be in the profit and not just barely make a profit from extreme cost-cutting measures? This individual makes me laugh because just a couple months ago they were saying like before the earnings report for Q3, they were saying things like, "Oh, this is a company that's always losing money, yada yada yada," and now he says, doesn't the company have to be consistently be in the profit and not just barely make a profit from extreme cost cutting measures? So he's saying now, like, okay, like they are making a profit, but still, it's a bad company, right? So you notice this over time with accounts like this, or the meltdowners, or whatever you want to call them, right? Individuals that just hate on GameStop, and some of them, I'm like, they have like, it's like they care so much, and it's crazy. And it's like, how could you care that much without being financially incentivized? Right? I'm just suggesting it. I'm not saying it's for sure. Like I think there are people out there who, maybe, allegedly, potentially, some kind of incentive to spread negative information about GameStop. I saw that, or companies in general. I saw that. Who was it? Morantz was talking about this the other day. I saw him put something out about it where there was a company that they basically got fined. I think it was by FINRA for hiring a lot of influencers or basically paying a lot of influencers to promote like their referral link, but in that process, like they were hyping up like nonsense stocks essentially, or like I'm not explaining that right. I forgot exactly what it was, but basically they got in trouble and they were fined. Of course, a slap on the wrist because that's always how it goes, right? But essentially, they were fined for malpractice in promoting like going to that platform like like basically trying to make it sound like just get rich quick. That's what I took out of it. So I'll leave that all for you to speculate on. I don't want to get into all that, but my point is there's definitely people who aren't even monetarily incentivized that just love to hate on things, right? Like they just pick something and they just stick to it. And I think with GameStop it's an easy thing to hate on because it's such a unique story, and if you're not really reading deep into it, like if you just look at it at surface, it's easy to just like nitpick like little things and be oh, look how obviously stupid that is. Like that's what Foldable Human basically did, or whatever that clown's name is, Dan Olson. He clipped me like 10 seconds out of context. And then I wrote a whole response to him. And his response to me was just like on X, like it's out there somewhere, was just like another clip of me saying, like, you shouldn't listen to me. I'm a guy on the internet. And I'll still hold true to that today. Or like, I'll say the same thing to you right now. You shouldn't listen to me. I'm just a random guy on the internet. And what I mean by that is you should do your research and due diligence. Like, doesn't matter who tells you what. Like, you should go look at it for yourself. Like, look at the information on your own. Make your own opinion after reading through the information. You should never believe anybody on the internet, whether it's Warren Buffett, Tetron, Marantz Rants, this other account you really like, right? Whoever it is, like, you should do the research on your own and like look up things that you okay well maybe it's not, like maybe I should look into this and why this might not be the case. So that's my point in saying that, not that like, oh yeah, I'm gonna purposely put out like nonsense. No, I'm just saying that you shouldn't listen to me because I'm just an individual on the internet, right? And everybody else who's posting content on the internet is also just an individual on the internet. And obviously I'm going to keep getting better and keep trying to share the best information, but my point is like you should never get out of the habit of trying to find the best possible information on your own and like digest it on your own, right? And just hear it from different sources and etc. I'm completely digressing here, but I think you guys know what I mean. Let's see. I'd rather. Oh, we're gonna go back a little bit. I'd rather Ryan Cohen buy 0 DTE on SPY than dividends and buybacks. I don't know about that, dear SGME, but I know what you're saying. Where like you're not about it. What's special about 7.41? I'm new to this. Soljo, you're good. There's tons of different theories, right? So the whole thing with 741 is that the numbers just popped up so many different times in so many different situations surrounding GameStop. Like Ryan Cohen used to tweet at 741 a lot of times. Just a lot of stuff like that. 741 his local time. So there's never like truly, in my personal opinion, any particular meaning, like one finalized meaning. It's kind of just become a thing that it's like just shows up in a lot of spots, right? I mean, I think different individuals have different thoughts if it truly means something, but in my opinion, there's no one definitive thing 741 could be. There's a lot of speculation, there's a lot of things it might be, but nothing like concrete, right? Good to see you live, Tetron. DB, thanks for being here. Good to see you in the chat. When they have an opportunity to deploy the cash, they will. There's no rush, whether it's 6 months or 5 years. I agree, dearest Jimmy, in a sense, but at the same time, where I could disagree a little bit is the money is like inflating away, right? And like, I gotta get better at this, guys. I'm trying to keep putting stuff on the screen like as I'm talking. Like I just start yapping away, and then I forget to put stuff on the screen. But and that's why I make these infographics, right? To show them. So I gotta pull them up. So I'm talking about the cash. Gotta have it on the screen, right? So as of Q3, they had, and I'm sorry, before, wow, I was completely off. And this is how you know I've got to get back in the loop of things. Shares outstanding is actually 305 million, not 330, 340, whatever I was saying before. See, I'm just a random guy on the internet getting things wrong sometimes, right? I'm not perfect. But to get back on topic here, looking at the cash, where I would disagree with that a tad bit is you have inflation right now. Inflation's not going to get any better. The dollar's being inflated away, like it's losing purchasing power. So you do want to take action like sooner than later. But at the same time, you're able to at least offset some of the inflation with these cash equivalents, marketable securities, right? As per the 10Q filing, cash equivalents consist of U.S. government bonds and notes, money market funds, cash deposits in commercial banks, and highly rated direct short-term instruments that mature in 90 days or less. Marketable securities are made up of highly rated short-term government bonds and notes, as well as time deposits that mature in less than 1 year. So, essentially, on their balance sheet, like they are earning the most amount of interest, right? Like probably around 5-ish% interest on their cash. So that's offsetting inflation for the time being. But at the same time, like I agree with you where it's like you don't want to just rush into things. Like you're going to keep accumulating interest on the cash. Like yes, there's going to be inflation, but you don't want to make any sudden moves. You want to make the moves when the time is right. So if you have the opportunity, maybe as a major economic downturn starts, you have the opportunity to go buy out a company for an extremely low valuation and then implement it into your business and make the company big in the long term. Like that opportunity is only going to happen, right, in that very specific scenario I just laid out at a time where there is a major economic downturn, where valuations are extremely beat down, where companies are going to sell at lower prices or low at market capitalizations than they ever imagine because it's a difficult time, right? So if GameStop does have a strong balance sheet, like going into a difficult time, that's where they have that advantage, like pretty much as you mentioned. But at the same time, when you have a market that keeps pumping liquidity in forever, right, and everything just goes up, it's the forever bull market, right? Like that's what I've been calling it. It's like you kind of feel a sense of urgency. It's like they gotta do something sooner than later, but at the same time, don't want to rush. Like you cannot rush and just do it for the sake of doing it. Like it has to make sense, and that's again where I trust the management team to make that right decision and determine when it's time to pull the trigger and take action and buy something for the company, right? Or acquire something, whatever it may be, however it plays out. That's a Monster Buddy comment. He just copies and pastes stuff from Google. That's funny, but yeah, no, I mean, I guess some people do that, so maybe it's not bots, but I'm still here. Brett, I love that. Thanks for popping in. Good to see you. Nice to see you, bro. Ante, yo, or yeah, Ante, yeah, good to see you. I remember you're the guy from Croatia, right? I'm going to Croatia this summer, so exciting stuff. Definitely gonna try and do some content there. I'm like, hey guys, Tetron out here in Croatia, right? That should be pretty dope. I'm pro Bitcoin. Bitcoin's the best crypto asset, and there's no second best. DB, thanks for being here. Personally, I do agree. I believe in Bitcoin the most because I understand it. Like I own a little bit of Ethereum, a tad bit of Loopring, and that's pretty much it, right? Like I don't really have anything else. To me, where I see Bitcoin as being truly valuable is it for its store of value. It's a deflationary asset, whereas the dollar is increasingly inflationary, right? Like it's like starting to get to the point where it's going to be exponential. Like if you look at dollars printed, right, it goes like this, whereas the Bitcoin being created, it's a reverse exponential line because each time it's halving, right, like it's being created half as much is being created. So most of the Bitcoin supply is already circulating, right? But Bitcoin's only been around for like 12 or 13 years. Whereas with a normal exponential chart, right? Like at the beginning, it's barely going up, and then all of a sudden it's like, right? And I guess I should be using like paint here. I can draw this for you guys because, like, if you think about it, get into the arts and crafts, right? If it wants to open. All right, well, maybe it doesn't want to open. So pretty much though, an exponential chart, right? Like if you imagine it, it just goes like this, 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 this. You follow my mouse, and then boom, up, right? Whereas reverse exponential goes up, 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 kind of tails off, and then goes flat. And that's pretty much Bitcoin supply. So you have the dollar supply going like that, or like that, and then you have Bitcoin supply going like that. So that's where I see the value in it. That's a super, super basic explanation, and why one of the main reasons I believe it at its core, and the fact that Bitcoin's never been double spent. But I'm not like I'm trying to talk about Bitcoin mainly, and I'm not trying to force this idea that GameStop has to buy Bitcoin to be successful, right? I'm just saying I personally want to be against it, and I definitely see the perspective, but I could also see why the company wouldn't want to do it. M1 Finance. Thank you, September. Yes, M1 Finance was the one that got in trouble. They got the fine for essentially like giving money to influencers for promoting a bunch of nonsense. In short, GameStop gave me wings. Splendid. It's splendid. Splendid Dan. Your name's a little bit of a tongue twister. Jack and Zen at the same time, baby. Ryan, I know exactly what you mean, man. I know exactly what you mean. Thanks for popping in. The one and only Stonk. I agree. I'm selling my house next week, moving in with my mom, putting 100 bands on DRS. More chicken tendies, mom. I'm debt free, lol. Nate, I don't know about that one, but if that's what you want to do, right? Of course, I can't tell you what to do. You got to make your own decisions. I feel like you're probably low key trolling a little bit, but it's all good, man. It's all good. But definitely, never, ever, ever invest more than you can afford to lose. Because I think anybody with any investment, right, you have to always admit there's that small probability it doesn't work out, no matter how much you absolutely believe in it, right? And every individual is a little bit different. Where someone who's bearish on GameStop, right, they're thinking there's a 10% chance those GameStop people are actually right. Whereas somebody like me, I'm thinking like it's nearly certain unless there's some black swan event or black swan item, not item, but occurrence. And that's not to say, oh, GameStop's a lock. It's guaranteed going to the moon, right? Again, you got to make your own decisions. I'm not here to tell you, like, it's free money. Like, that's just not how the world works, right? But what I'm saying is, I think when you invest in anything, you have to have the humility or just like self-awareness that, like, no matter what it is, no matter how much you believe in it, no matter how certain it seems, there's always that slight probability that it's not going to work out, or there's always that possibility on the table. And please, I hope no one's taking this as like, oh, is Tetron showing he doesn't believe in GameStop or something like that? I'm just not scared to say when people are like, oh, how you invested that? It's not going to work out. I'm like, listen, I think it absolutely is, but I'll say sure. If you want me to say like there's a chance it doesn't work out, okay. I don't think that's going to be the case, but I'm just saying like I'm self-aware enough and I feel like I have the humility to be like, okay, like it's a possibility, but in my eyes, a possibility is like this big, right? So it's all relative, right? And it's all perspective. I'd rather gnaw my balls off than sell my GameStop, eat my ass bots. Austin, inspiring, man. Truly inspiring. They should call you the referee because you're official with that comment. Shiba growth coin. Ah, see, your first comment was good, but now Shiba growth coin. Oof, oof. I don't know. I don't know. Boo. No, I'm just kidding. You're good, man. You're good. Auron, Imre, Tetron, always consistent. I'm trying to be Auron. I'm really trying. Thanks for being here. I appreciate you. I'm just trying to be the best version of myself that I could be. It's not easy, and I'm still learning a lot about life. And I'm a relatively young individual, and I'm just trying to do the best I can and just share what I think. There's a lot of other people out there sharing what they think, so I just think to myself, why not share what I think as well, right? Not everyone's going to agree, and that is what it is, right? And I'm just trying to always keep it real with you guys and just help people learn because that's what I believe in. You may not be interested in Bitcoin, but Bitcoin is interested in you. I like that, dear Streamy. I like that. You will love Croatia 100%. I'm pumped, man. I'm pumped. I'm so excited. Coincidentally enough, my girlfriend's cousin is marrying a girl that's Croatian, and we got invited to the wedding. So I was like, that's pretty exciting. And I was like, okay, well, we have to go now. I've wanted to go to Croatia. My grandpa was born there, so like I wanted to go there anyway. And now, okay, the stars have aligned. Like it works out. We're being invited there. Like we have to go. Like we're gonna do more than the wedding, so it's gonna be a good time. Stay tuned. Put out some content with that. But yeah, I'm definitely pumped. Why did Ryan Cohen want to talk to Nintendo? Uh, great thing to bring up, Brad. Honestly, I kind of completely forgot about that. I do remember seeing something about that. Refresh my memory. Did he like tweet that or something, or what exactly? Where exactly was that scene? I remember a while back he had said like I'm trying to get in touch with someone at Microsoft, and like he tweeted at him and he won't answer my calls or something along those lines. So give me a little more insight because I remember like seeing something about that Ryan Cohen and Nintendo, but I don't remember the specifics. So refresh my memory real quick when you have a chance, and I'll build on that thought a little more. But yeah, no, I really love that you guys are like voting on these polls I've been putting out. I'm gonna keep putting them out. If you guys have any good ones, feel free to like drop them in the chat or like DM them to me or whatever, and I'll try and just put them out here and there. Just to see what people think, right? And just because I'm saying a poll and like you don't agree with that, like I think the good part about the people that follow me though, and like I really appreciate all of you, is like all these people saying none or neither. I'm not looking at it as like, oh yeah, like they're saying like, huh, I got you, Tetron. Neither, you're an idiot. Like I don't think like I'm not reading it like that. You know what I mean? Like I think people are just like can be genuine with me because I feel like I can be genuine with you guys. But they're just like, nah, neither. I don't agree, and like that's fine. Like that's literally fine. You know what I mean? And like I'm very lucky to have that where I feel like I have so many great people to follow me. So shout out to all of you watching this. But yeah, no, it's crazy. All these years later, right? And it's just an evolving beast. That's really what it is. And that's what the stock market is in itself. That's what economics are, just constantly evolving, right? And that's why I wanted to start talking finance, start talking GameStop, talk economics because it's evolving. Every single day something's happening. Like literally every single day something's developing, something's evolving. So there's always more to talk about and there's always more to analyze. So that's kind of why I went into finance in the first place. Although sometimes I joke around saying like, "Oh, I should have never even got interested in finance because I would be like, ignorance is bliss." You wouldn't see like, you know what I mean, where you don't see the craziness going on in the world. You don't see things so deeply because ignorance is bliss. But at the same time, I'm incredibly lucky to have the knowledge I have at my age, and also I understand that like just a couple decades ago, someone my age, there's no way they could have learned all the stuff they know about the stock market. Or I'm sure very, very rare instances, right, where they would be able to have the access to the internet to learn all this information and just absorb all this different stuff. So like it's overwhelming at times because I'm trying to learn so much and just also figure out my life. But at the same time, like I'm so grateful to have that opportunity with the internet being out there, right? And I really try to encourage people in my life that I know, like, whether it's just like people I maybe stay in touch with high school or college or friends. I'm like, you guys gotta learn about finance, economics, and just how to better yourself. Like it's out there. Like it's like you just gotta find it. Like the internet has it all. Like the internet and technology is like the best but worst thing ever at the same time, if that makes sense. Like it's the best because it's all the information's out there. It's great, and I have all of you guys, right? But at the same time, I feel like mentally everybody would just be in a better place because there wouldn't be as much internet, as much like dopamine from swiping to the next video, right? And I don't know. I'm no psychologist, right? So I'm completely getting down a path that I can't speak on too much. Like I'm no psychologist, but I've been really trying to work on just attention span and like I guess less dopamine hits, but that's not really the right way. It's not a vape, right? Like dopamine, dopamine, right? That's not how it works. But when you are just swiping on videos, like that is like dopamine hits, right? I mean, again, I'm completely going off like on a total rant here, but let's get back to GameStop. So, earnings report is officially tomorrow, 26th. It came out on the 12th. So they gave about 14-day notice, right? Because the 12th, you guys won't see the calendar probably because it's cut off. That was a Tuesday. And then 2 weeks later is tomorrow. And then when we look at last year's report, right? Definitely one of the things I want to look forward on is forward looking. Where no, what is it that they usually put it under? Business priorities. That's what I'm thinking of. So I'll definitely be looking at if that changes at all. Business priorities. So if you look at this year's 10K versus last year, there's slight differences. It's nothing major where you're gonna be like, oh, well, it could be, right? And this next one we don't know yet, obviously, because 2023 10K will be coming out within a couple days. So the earnings will be released tomorrow, but the 10K will probably come out a little bit after. That's usually the case. Possibly Wednesday, late night Tuesday. It kind of depends. I think probably Wednesday. I believe that's how it usually goes. But my point is, like as the earnings comes out, and as I was saying in the very beginning of the stream, where you want to really digest it sometimes, you have an initial reaction, but then you got to kind of digest. And when you're digesting, that's when you look at the 10K and look at the details, such as the business priorities, and just see if there are any slight changes, from last year to this year. From these business priorities listed, these are the 2023 ones. Or sorry, these are the 2022 ones, or the end of 2022 going to 2023. The next one is going to be the 2023 going to 2022. Obviously, this will be different because the NFT marketplace has been wound down. But will we see any other like major bullet point added? Will there be some different kind of commentary, maybe something like that? Not a major thing, but just a kind of small thing to look at. Definitely the store count will be a number to look at. I do expect them to potentially close some stores. I was talking about this a little bit on a previous stream where they have the management team in place. They have the data in place now where they can determine, okay, if this store is not profitable, and what looks to be a factor as to why it's now not profitable, and it was just a couple years ago, maybe the factor, the example I keep using is that it's in a shopping mall, right? Like many GameStops are, or even a strip mall. And maybe a lot of stores in that shopping mall or strip mall closed down. So that area is just not getting the same foot traffic it once was. So it might not even necessarily be GameStop that's not doing as well, but in that particular location, it's not doing as well because of factors surrounding it, such as that. That's not to say there aren't going to be situations where maybe a GameStop store has just been kind of hanging on for a few years since 2020. It's just breaking even, it's just turning a profit, and it's just not looking better, right? Expenses are going up, overhead costs are going up a little bit, and it's just enough where they're not quite profitable. They might have to make a tough decision to close that particular store, but that's where you have to have strong e-commerce and a strong online platform. So those same customers either go to another GameStop location after their old one closed, or they go online and they get a great experience. And I think I have to keep working on that. I think they've come a long way with the online shopping experience. And if you go on the GameStop app or you like look up their customer service number, when you call, you get someone on the phone right away, and like you get legitimate customer service. You don't have to go through like a whole bunch of phone menus. Whereas Marshalls, right? That's the example I always use. Marshalls, part of the TJX companies, because like TJX owns TJ Maxx, Marshalls, Home Goods, HomeSense, Sierra Trading Post, all those. That's always the example I use because I used to work at a Marshalls, so I know the most about it. But what would happen sometimes is people would return the most crazy things, right? Like people would return like these sunglasses, right? And I might have to put these sunglasses on because my future is so bright. But they would return these like sunglasses, right? And then they would be clearly used, like spots all over them. We don't even sell the brand of sunglasses. And they're like, no, I bought it at another Marshalls. You have to take it back. And literally, I was told that like if it gets to the point where like you just say no, 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 and like, okay, well, I'm gonna call the customer service number. If they called the customer service number, they said just take it back. Do whatever the client wants, essentially. I mean, obviously, if they said like gazillion dollars, they couldn't do that. But if they just wanted $10 for these and it was clearly not ours, and it got to the point they're like making a scene, I was supposed to just take it back anyway. Like that's what they teach you. My point is, if they called the customer service line, they would call, wait, do all these phone menus, finally get someone on the phone after 20 minutes, and then that person just says like, put the store manager on the phone, or like we'll tell the store manager to just take back your item. Like it's just like absurd system. My point is with that, there's just a little bit of like story time from my time at Marshalls, but also other places don't have good customer service systems. So having Yobic in place, right, or Ubic. Someone please tell me how to say this. It's got to be Ubic, right? I don't know why I'm tripped up on this so much. This is like first grade stuff, right? The double O, isn't that the oo sound? So Ubic, right? Whatever. Point is, what this platform is it's really giving GameStop's teams, right, both like customer service over the phone and GameStop store managers in store connectivity to everything going on with GameStop. So with being able to use like their internal platform to get information, if a client's or not client, sorry, I'm talking like I'm at work. If a customer is calling GameStop's customer support line about an issue they have with a store or about a purchase at a particular store, like they can go get information on that particular store through their own internal information system. And yes, other companies do have that. I'm not saying GameStop's like truly unique with that, but this is using artificial intelligence. I mean, I know obviously that's a buzzword now, so I'm not saying like, oh, GameStop's using AI and they're going to be rich, right? But they're just able to put smarter systems in place and operate more efficiently, right? So, in doing that, they can just continue to get to where they need to be. But also before Ryan Cohen's involvement in GameStop, you have to understand like nothing like this was happening. Everything was extremely out of date. Employees are probably still training with like paper, right? Like, oh, read this guide for 20 minutes and then I'll come check on you. And like that's how we train people at Marshalls. And guess what? They train, come out. All right, what's Department 17? What about Department 20? They didn't know, right? They didn't know because it was bad training material. So all these different things, like it really adds up. And again, just to like reiterate, you need to move forward. I'm not saying that this is like okay, like they're the greatest company in the world. They're gonna make a gazillion dollars more in revenue now because they're doing all this, but it's just allowing them to operate more efficiently and keep moving in that right direction. So when they do expand, whether it's something they acquire or there's a new aspect of the business they get involved with, they're already having a strong infrastructure that they can implement whatever they're doing next into. You need that strong underlying infrastructure to scale. So I think that's what management's done, just really, really focused on the core of the business being efficient and just overall everything that is GameStop can be efficient and just operate smoothly. And in doing that, that's going to give them the opportunity to then grow again in the future. And I think that's where the company's perspective comes of focusing on cost cutting and just turning a net profit at the end of the day. Because once you have that, right, yeah, it might take some time still to figure out how revenue is going to rise. But if you have that underlying, like, you can take your time to figure it out because you have a strong balance sheet and you're profitable. So speaking of profits, let's look at revenue and income, right? So these are just for the last few years. Let's get these off because I'm looking probably a little bit goofy and it's also hard to see my screen. Let's see. Why did Ryan Cohen want to talk Nintendo? How many of your followers are DRS poll? That's a good one, Brett. I'm gonna write that down. How many DRS? DRS. My scrap paper here. See, Tetron with the live stream. If earnings are good, I buy. If earnings are bad, I buy. Prices. If the price is up, I buy. If price down, I buy. Simple answer. I buy GameStop stock. Scott, thanks for being here. I love that. Pretty dope. And I know how you are, man. I know that's definitely a true statement for you. But looking here, I have laid out GameStop's revenue and net income for 2021 through 2023. So just these past few years, and you see what it's looked like at the year end, 381 million loss and then $313 million loss. This year, they pretty much just need 57-ish million to be for the Q4, which would just be slightly more than last year on the bottom line. And then the full year is profitable. Like, that's such a major swing. And I do expect revenue to slightly decline because if you look at Q1, let's look at last year's, right? Because it's going to be year over year. But revenue is pretty much sideways from 2021 to 2022. Slight decline, like ever so slightly, probably less than 1% if you calculate it out efficiently. But in the green, you have the net income. So looking at revenue, right, from let's just look at 22. So 22 going to 23, it's 100 million less there. In Q2, 22 going versus 23, it's slightly more, but pretty much the same. And then Q3, it's down about another 100 million. So it's about 200 million down. Let's say Q4 is in line with the past couple. We get about 2.2 billion again, give or take a couple hundred million, right? Or a couple tens of millions, right? Maybe not 100 million, but let's say we get 2.2 again. That would kind of roughly make revenue about maybe 5.7 billion ish. So it'd be less revenue, but then let's say the bottom line is $80 million, then all of a sudden you have a net profitable year just like that. So again, not that it's ideal to see revenue going down, but you can see, like, regardless of what the revenue is, the company's focus is on net profitability. And some would say, like, oh, well, what happened between 21 and 2022? To me, that was like a lot of the restructuring going on and figuring out how to go forward with things. But in 2023, it was about, like, okay, now it's time to rock and roll, turn a profit. Like, we've had our time to turn around, spend the money to make adjustments. Now it's about actually driving forward and putting up a net profit on the bottom line. And if GameStop does report a full year net profit, it would be the first time since 2017, I believe. I believe it's been exactly 6 years, right? So if it was full year 2017, that was a profit. You had 2018, 2019, 2020, 2021, 2022. And then now the 6 years later, 2023 would be a profit, right? So there's that. And then when you look at margins, there's a little bit of a better idea. The red here, we have gross margin. In the green, we have net. Yeah, that's better. I can get some more zoomed in for you guys. It's the whole point of me having this little side cam here, so I can see, like, what are you guys seeing? Got to keep it looking good. But see, 2019, Q1 was still profitable. It would be nice to see Q1 of 2024. Obviously, we're getting a little bit ahead of ourselves, but it'd be nice to see Q1 of 2024 be net profitable again, even if it was 0.4% net profit on the bottom line. Just be nice to see them getting into those good habits again. But you can really see how the net profit from 2022 to 2023 is improving. And even each quarter so far, we've seen gross profit improve as well. So I think you do need to improve gross profit as well. But net profit's the most important right now. And over time, obviously it'd be nice to increase both of those. And if you want to get a better like visualization of this on a graph, if you go on macro trends, you can look at gross profit for GameStop over time. Net profit, obviously you can with other stocks too. But that's just one website off the top of my head that is a good graphic. And here, I'm not exactly sure what happened because this was actually the quarter the pandemic hit. But in a way, they also spent a lot less. But I'm not sure exactly what happened in this one particular quarter. I'd have to go back and look. But they had a major, unless I had a typo here. I'm going to have to check on this. What happened in, another quick side note, what happened in Q2 2019 for GME? But yeah, so the past few years, I mean, you can really only judge GameStop from when Ryan Cohen got involved, which really, I mean, it was the end of 2020, but really he started impacting things at all, I'd say in 2021. That's kind of why I chose to go about the revenue and net income chart this way, because I wanted to shrink it down a little too. I felt like it would have been too much going all the way back to 2019, like these a couple other graphics here. But Ryan Cohen's involvement, I was maybe going to put another line here too, like a blue line, just saying like Ryan Cohen's involvement from here. But you can see, the bottom line. So from 2020 to 2021 got worse, but then from 2021 to 2022 got slightly better. But really, 2023 is where we're starting to see the differences versus 2022. And even 2023 versus 2021, you also see the improvement, but it comes down to just executing from here on out. So it's more than just like, oh, okay, they have like one profitable quarter now. Oh, full year profitable. Like, great. It's a one-time thing. No, it needs to be inevitably like Q1 needs to be net profitable. Q2 needs to be net profitable. Q3 needs to be net profitable. Then Q4, and then boom, a huge net profit for the full year. And eventually net profit will be 5% on the bottom line, right? If you think about it, even if GameStop turns a net profit for the first time since 2017, it's still a situation where their net profit's going to be less than 1%. Excuse me. And you do want to grow that over time for sure. But great things take time, right? Great things take time. And I totally understand where people are coming from. They're like, oh, why would you want to be involved in that? To me, it's a unique story. I believe in what I believe in the stock and the company and some of the things that have gone on with it over time. And I'm ready to be patient, right? And to me, it's boils down to risk versus reward. If I'm wrong, I'm only going to lose what I put in, right? And if I'm wrong, however you want to look at that, or it just doesn't work out, whatever it is what it is, right? And I'm only going to lose what I put in. But if it does work out, I believe the company is going to be worth significantly more, and I'm going to benefit significantly more than if I had never been involved in GameStop, right? So it's all, personal opinion. I get it though that some people like don't want to invest in GameStop, don't want to hear about it, don't want to care about it. I mean, I don't get it at the same time because like you gotta have an open mind, right? So if you don't want to have an open mind, like I don't think that's a good habit to have in general. But I get that it's not an investment for everyone. So I just liked how unique it is, and it's just a great story, and I'm just happy to be a part of it in just one tiny, tiny little way, if that makes sense. I talked with a PlayStation rep today who visits GameStop stores, and he was most concerned about crime in the stores and high turnover he sees. That's a great point, Brett, because that is definitely a hot topic amongst retailers right now. In some places that are just seeing spiking crime rates. There's even companies that are just closing down stores in areas where it's like really, really bad. You see those videos like CVS, like you're buying like headphones and it's like behind a cage or it's like makeup, you know what I mean? Like it's craziness because the theft is so bad. And it's unfortunate, but it's one of those things where those are think the areas where yeah, if the theft is so bad, that's another potential reason a store might have to close in a particular region because the theft and the crime rate is just astronomically rising. That's completely out of GameStop's control. They're not involved in fixing crime or like making it better. I think they just have to look at the numbers, look at the logistics, and be like, okay, well, there's been way more crime. There's no signs of it slowing down, and we're running a business here, so we need to not have our products stolen. Like, we want to get paid for them because that's how a business works. So with that being the case, yeah, I think it does make sense for them to close down stores in particular areas where that is the case. So it'll be interesting to see if maybe that's highlighted in some way, because it's not just GameStop that would be dealing with crime. It's all the other stores and the stores that have already closed. And there's even like, there's one extreme example. I think like some food chain literally closed or only did drive through in one town because it was so bad. I mean, obviously it's an extreme example, but my point is it's a topic of conversation of companies that have retail stores, theft and methods of avoiding it and just loss prevention. That's what they officially call it, right? That's what we call it at Marshalls. LP, loss prevention. So, what are the steps they're maybe taking to prevent loss, to have less shrink? Shrink is pretty much inventory that's unaccounted for, so essentially items that are stolen, or maybe like another form of shrink, right? Like shrink could be someone walks in the store, steals these headphones, right? Like now that these headphones, right, are technically still on inventory, but we never reported the money made because it just left the store without being paid for. So that's shrink. That's the difference. But also another form of shrink is if I'm working at GameStop, right, and I'm scanning items and I forget to scan these headphones, they've also left the store without being accounted for. And that's also why stores do inventory like either quarterly or once a year. I worked at Nike very briefly. They told me they did it quarterly. Marshalls did it annually, where with Marshalls, what we would do is it literally starts the night before. I mean, Marshalls has a million items, so GameStop's inventory definitely doesn't take as long. But you get all the employees, you start at like midnight, and you go until the store opens pretty much, and you count every single item like by category, and then you put the categories and subcategories. You count every single item in the store, and you count it and you compare it to how much on paper that you should have in the store. So you're taking inventory and accounting for shrink, and then you're able to update it to make your inventory accurate based on what you actually counted. And you can see like, okay, like we counted, like very simple example, we counted 999,000 items in the Marshall store, but on paper we thought we had 100,000 items. So 1,000 items were shrink, either stolen, mistakenly not scanned, whatever the case. So that would be like a 1% shrink rate. So you'd want to aim, the company then would look, okay, like what can we do to get shrink to 0.9% next year? Because there's always going to be shrink, right? Like there's always going to be thieves. There's always going to be employee errors. Like there's always going to be small stuff like that. But it's about putting the systems in place to prevent that as much as possible. So I'm glad you brought that up. Good comment, man. Thank you. Sometimes I buy GameStop calls just when feeling randy. Hard to imagine a company with no debt going bankrupt. Seems like every dollar in GME is safe, if not safer, than a savings account. Or if it goes down, I get a second job, another, and buy more. Scott, I know what you mean, man. I know what you mean. Kind of just going on tangents tonight, but yeah, no, for me, I'm not interested in buying GameStop calls. But again, that's just me. You see guys like White Rabbit 741. He just posted like just swinging his horn around, like boom, GameStop calls in the Wall Street Bets Reddit. I don't even know how he got that through. That's what they were talking about a little bit on Platinum Sparkle's space today when I was on. So that was interesting. How he was like, yeah, I don't know, I just posted it and it went through, and I was like, yeah, he seems like a funny guy. I'm gonna have to link up and do something one time, but yeah, if those of you that were not here in the beginning, just follow me on Twitter. I'm posting these infographics and whatnot, and just trying to write some stuff here and there. And originally this is what I wrote about. Achieving profitability opens the door to delivering shareholder value through initiatives such as share purchases, dividends, acquisitions, improving core business, expansion of new segments of business. Obviously in my poll, I only had buyback shares or issue dividend, but I do acknowledge, there are other avenues, and that also kind of goes back to why a lot of people said neither or none. But yeah, I'm just excited for tomorrow. I'm so happy to be off of work. I'm happy to just cover things live, hang out during the day going into it, just talk about some different stuff, see what's going on out there, who's around, who's popping in, who's popping out. But let me just check real quick. Let's see. Just text someone real quick. But yeah, I might wrap it up soon. I'm trying to think if there's like one other thing I wanted to talk about. Oh, the GME Solana scam coin. It's just actually literally a scam. Somebody commented on something I did and was like, I thought it was this. I thought we were gonna find it where it was like the GME token, something like that. I don't know, but no, that is like it's such bogus, and it's just craziness. It's just craziness. But at the same time, right now we're in a wild stage of crypto. We're in one of those cycles where all these meme coins are popping up, and I feel like now more than ever with the most absurd, inappropriate, in some cases just wrong, just homophobic, racist, like literally just disturbing names for coins. And I'm like, why do people do this? Why? Why does nobody have nothing better to do, right? And then and then the fact that other people buy these ridiculously named coins that are like sometimes like slurs and all kinds of bad things, right? And it's like there's volume on them, so somebody's transacting with them. It's craziness, right? So when you look at that, it's like, can you really be surprised there's GME Solana token or whatever that garbage is? Like, I wish I could say I was surprised. That's what I'm saying. But it's a complete scam. So if you're watching this and you're like, oh, what's the GME Solana token? What's the deal with that? It has nothing to do with GameStop. As I see Badass Trader often put it, I'm sure he's not the only one that says it, but there's only one GameStop. And that, or I used to say, the next GME is GameStop, or the sources close to me have informed me that the next GameStop is GME. And it just means that you can't change it, right? It's just it is what it is. It's GameStop. You can create a token. You could say, oh, this is the next GameStop. That's the next GameStop. Look, the coin is the next GameStop. No, GameStop is GameStop. It's that simple. That's how I look at it. But yeah, definitely store count will be an interesting thing to look for. I should really try and compile a list of major factors to look for and report. That's my scratch paper here. Just one other quick thing. Yeah. Yeah, people text me nonsense. All right, back to focusing here. Just touch on a few other things, and I'll probably wrap it up for today because I do want to keep the core of other ideas without being too repetitive for what I'm going to do tomorrow. But definitely, percentage, and again, I'll write this down so I can kind of go more in depth to all this tomorrow. I'm going to bring up percentage, margins, and then also SG&A. Did I have an infographic for that here? Yes. See, SG&A over time. Talk about cost cutting. This is definitely a major factor, and overhead costs generally speaking. So in red, I have it in actual dollars. In green, I have it as a percentage of revenue. So you can see 2022 versus 2023. It's almost like a 5% move for Q1. Q2, it's even more so. Q3, it's 5%. So if we had another 5% move here, SG&A would come in at about 15% or maybe 16% of revenue, which I think would be a very, very nice number to see. It'd be the lowest in the last 5 years for GameStop. We'd have to go back to 2017. I think it'd be interesting to compare to 2020. Why do I almost keep going to say 2027? To the 2020, damn it again, to the 2017 earnings report and to see, and again, this is something I'll have to do tomorrow, the SG&A for 2017 percentage of sales, because I want to see what was it at that time where they were still able to turn a profit. I'll see for the Q4, for the full year, for each quarter individually. Maybe we'll even have to extend this chart a little bit because, it's all relative to what revenue is in terms of turning a net profit. So if you wanted to screenshot this or whatever, you can kind of get a visual of what SG&A's looked like over time. So the cost cutting, again, didn't really take place too much 2022, from 2021 to 2022, but you can see it starting in Q4 and then really in this year, it's become a major, major factor and a focus. And the company said, we're going to focus on net income and profitability. And to me, like, this is exemplifying that commentary because look at how low SG&A was in Q3 versus Q3 of the year before. nearly $100 million swing. Like, that's such a massive swing. And then here is about a $50 million swing. And then in Q1, again, $100 million swing. So already, even if, let's say, SG&A comes in at 400 or some like larger than expected number, then SG&A is still going down significantly. Although I think, like, if it was, let's say, right, let's try and do some quick math. So if, and these were some PE estimates. So let's say, or let's see, if revenue comes in the same, right? Or let's say revenue is, it's bigger. Okay, boom. So let's say revenue is 2.2 billion, right? And we'll put it in millions. So 2,200 million, which is 2.2 billion. So if we have 2,200 and then we multiplied that by, let's say, SG&A for the quarter, let's say it comes in at 17%, right? Like, it shows improvement, but it's not, a whole 5%, like we went from here to here, here to here. Although these are a little bit less than 5%. So yeah, I think 17 is a fair estimate. So we did by 0.17. SG&A would be about $374. And if you look at $374 versus 453, that's a pretty significant difference. And then, if revenue was higher and the percentage was the same, then SG&A would go up a little bit. I'm just ballparking random numbers here and just kind of throwing out calculations, but just to give you some like quick initial insights in terms of what it would look like for SG&A. But, I'll try and like kind of math this out like going into the stream tomorrow more so it'd be easier to go through the numbers then instead of being on the spot. And I do want to revise these estimates, right? Like, I want to put like estimates as of 326, estimates right before earnings. And I want to estimate, let's say, revenue. Let's get rid of bold. So I'll make myself a list. What the heck is going on here? Revenue, net income, EPS, SG&A. Definitely want to theorize on that. And then, these are just some, but I'm trying to think of other factors. Maybe cash on the balance sheet, but I don't know. That's pretty hard to estimate, right? Because you have the whole cash flow statement as well. This is mostly estimates for like the income statement, right? So maybe DRS, but these are kind of the main ones I want to predict. And also pull up my like previous predictions. Not that I have this like amazing track record, like, oh yeah, like I've done all this and all that. And definitely listen to me, like have this crazy prediction coming up. No, I'm just doing it for fun. I'm doing it because analysts do it, and I'm just analyzing the company, right? Like, I'm self-analyzing. So definitely put some of those together. Let's see. The chat. When MOAS happens, can we meet there? Wait, what is it? When? I like that. I know what you mean. You're saying, no, not if, but when. MOAS happens, can we meet here? Sure, I'll be live. I'm gonna be live as long as GameStop's rocking and rolling. Hey, buddies, see you tomorrow. Jay, thanks for popping in. Yes, sir. You'll definitely see me tomorrow live. GME up 15% and not a peep on Reddit Wall Street Bets. Not surprised. Probably because they expected it to be negative. Maybe they let a few posts get put out about it. But then now that it's positive, they're like, oh, no, that couldn't be. It's the worst thing ever all of a sudden. Like, it's funny how since like mid 2021 to now, like Wall Street Bets hates GameStop when it's like that was originally where so many people initially found out about it. And obviously that was a different time and different circumstances, but it's just funny how now it's like, GME, oh my gosh, on Wall Street bets when it used to be like GME, GME, right? And so it's just funny how the tables turn. But sad state of the IPO. Yeah, no, it's crazy. Reddit, the fact that Reddit is public at the price it is nuts. And also, like, if you look at trending symbols, right? Check this out. Whoop, GME, right at the top. What is it? Reddit? It's crazy to me. It was up 30% today again? No, that can't be right. Or what? How did it trade yesterday? Wow, it went up that much today? That's crazy. I did not realize that. I know yesterday was volatile, but I didn't even watch it, right? It went public yesterday? Or not yesterday. 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 I'm used to streaming on like Wednesdays and Thursdays. Yesterday was Sunday. The market was not open. So last trading day, Friday. That's crazy. It went up today. I'm surprised it went up so much and like it wasn't trending or like I didn't really see anyone tweet about it or anything. But crazy. What a time we live in. 9.5 billion. I didn't read the Reddit like financial filings officially, but I saw something someone posted that their research and development was like a huge, like percentage wise, a huge, like their spending on research and development was a huge percentage of their revenue. And it's like, what were you spend? What is Reddit researching and developing that they have to spend so much money on? And they already don't make too much, so I don't know. And honestly, I think part of one of the good things about Reddit is that it's not like overloaded with ads and it's just kind of people being a little more personal and like friendly. I mean, not always, right? You have the meltdowners and super stonk that clash, right? But yeah, I don't know. I feel like trying to make Reddit more monetized and more profitable is probably going to kind of burn them in the long run. So we'll see. Uh, Tetron, bro, Jimmy up 50% and not a P meme sub or well, I'll go back. BBY delisted, AMC equal diluted to hell and ready for bankruptcy. GME's the only one. Your boy underscore 69. Nice name, and I agree. I absolutely agree. GameStop's like the Highlander. There can only be one. It's true. Are you a GameStop Pro member poll? I like that. Let's write that too. Where'd my pen go? Must have dropped it. Got the backup though right here. GameStop Pro member. Tetron, bro. GM up 50% and not a peep. Mainstream media is literally afraid of the negative beta. I feel like you could be right. I feel like you're absolutely right. Up 50%, easy front page news when Dow down. That's true. I mean, it's the number one trending stock. Usually, it's not even on here. So definitely people are curious about it. But you're right. Like no articles on it. I'm sure. Just earnings to watch tomorrow. Not like yeah. But of course, like Reddit's IPO is like they tag GameStop stock in it, right? Where related article in this article they just put all these like random companies. Of course, they just throw GameStop in there. You're missing the part where Ryan Cohn invested 1.2 billion in Nvidia before the run and already sold. Brett, that would actually have been crazy if that was the case and that comes out in the earnings report. Wow, that's all I could say. Wow, if that actually is what took place during the quarter, that would be unreal. That'd be an unreal surprise. Meow, cat that sometimes roars. Thanks for being here. Or cat that roars sometimes. Wall Street Bets is corrupt and sold out. No doubt about it. I completely agree with you, to be honest with you. It is what it is, right? And can you really be surprised with how a lot of things that have gone on since early 2021 have gone? It kind of was inevitable, unfortunately. So that's where Superstunk came in. And, you know, even that now, there's people say, oh, it's infiltrating this and that. And honestly, I've just kind of moved away from Reddit. Like, I don't use it as much. Like, I mostly just use X, Twitter, and like communicate with you guys. So I don't really communicate with people on Reddit. Like I'll look at it on occasion, or you guys will say, "Hey, yo, like check this out on Reddit." Like Ringing Bells was posting stuff about trade 385, and I was looking at that the other day. And the whole thing with that is pretty much the only one side of the trade was reported, so it caused this massive difference in liquidity. And then some other stuff I was reading or just brushing up on how what really caused that margin requirement to be issued by the NSCC, correct me if I'm wrong at any point in this, but essentially the reason it was being like it was determined like it was position close only for stocks like GameStop, AMC, and various other names is because there was with AMC, like a massive amount of like liquidity just sucked out, or like shares traded. Like I forgot the exact details, but that's why I gotta have things in front of me. Otherwise, I shouldn't speak on it. But the point is in the SEC report about like called GameStop about what happened during that time period, and essentially they said that there was a large party, or they didn't have the liquidity to cover like all the price action in a very very simple nutshell. But story for a different day, topic for a different day. Right now, just focusing on earnings. But I hope Ryan Cohen is T-bill and chill. I know what you mean, Scott. T-bill and chill. I like it. Expensive bed. Jimmy mooning tomorrow and the following months. It could happen. I mean, I think if they report a profit, that would definitely help the likelihood of that. Although, I think you have to expect the unexpected, especially in the stock market and the world we live in, and more so than ever with GameStop, right? And how the stock has performed over the past several years. So I would say, expect the unexpected and just be ready for anything with earnings. Like I think positive earnings, positive net EPS, better than expected EPS, and just stronger than expected bottom line, just showing that they're capable of being profitable for a full year and just maintaining profitability. I think all of that really should be enough to push the stock forwards and kind of start a bullish trend for a while. But the truth is, nobody knows what's going to happen in the short term, right? It might be the case, it might not be the case. So I would just suggest, of course, I don't give financial advice, but I would suggest be ready for everything and anything, because that's how you have to be in the stock market, because anything could truly happen. Reddit IPO and GME earnings, totally related. That's tinfoil though. Yeah, no, I see what you're saying, Scott. Where it's like you're just throwing the idea out there, not saying like, oh yeah, it definitely is, but like it's like, oh, that's funny. It's happening like right before GameStop earnings. So interesting stuff. But yeah, I think probably wrap it up there for today. Of course, I'll be interested in the DRS numbers, and I find it odd. Like it seems like something weird is going on with those numbers, but I couldn't tell you what. And I choose to DRS my shares that are individually held, although I have a lot in IRAs that are not directly registered. And I think everyone should make their own individual decisions. But to me, having a share in ComputerShare is a share that's truly registered in your name. Because if you have a share in a brokerage, essentially it's for your benefit, or I forgot the official terminology, but basically the shares are all technically held in the name of Seed & Co. And then each custodian or brokerage, whatever you want to look at it as, has a DTC reference number. And that's what it's in reference to, and then your name's on there as well. But it's all truly in the ownership of Seed & Co. It's only if you withdraw your shares to ComputerShare, it's truly in your name. I think it just then becomes a matter of how much does that mean to you. So obviously more so for some than others, but again, just kind of throwing all the ideas out there, talking all about the different things. But yeah, this guy. So I just read some of the stuff you guys read a while back too, and it just makes me laugh. Like White Rabbit 741 said, "Come back here to use this as foreplay," and it was like a little while after I had posted this, so I appreciate that. But and then Walrus farts a homie. Gotta add the Walrus response, but oh yeah, Tip ranks words, not mine. I forgot I did that. 1 star. Their words, not mine. But yeah, no, it's been a good stream tonight. I think a little warm up for tomorrow's action, the true main event. So thank you all so much for tuning in. Follow me on X and Twitter for updates, but I'm planning to go live at 1 p.m. Eastern tomorrow. Definitely no later than that. I'll be bringing in some predictions. Gonna try and just have some fun. Maybe do another poll. We'll probably not do another poll tomorrow. I'll probably do some polls coming up, but just getting ready for the earnings report, right? Like I love GameStop. I love reporting on it, and it's funny. People in my job are like, "Why did you just take off like a random like Tuesday or Wednesday every once in a while?" I'm like, "GameStop earnings. I gotta cover it." They're like, "No one else is really doing that." I'm like, "I'm not the only one, but there's not a ton, so I'm out here." But yeah, no, really, it's always a great time during earnings. No matter what happens, it's just exciting to see like a lot of people that might just watch me here and there. Like I get that not everyone's gonna watch like all the time everything I do. To those of you that watch a ton of what I do and I consistently see, like I appreciate you so much. So don't get me wrong on that. But I'm just saying it's exciting because some new faces we'll see, or not new faces because I won't physically see them, right? But see some new names, meet some new people, interact with some different people, and I'm sure the Bears will definitely be popping in the chat tomorrow, so be ready to fight them off. But I'll have to get some good roast ready for them, right? In case some of our meltdowner friends, or not really friends, but people join the chat. I don't know. I'm trying to think of a funny thing to say, but I don't got it right now. But yeah, thank you guys so much for watching. I really appreciate it. Appreciate all of you so much. Get ready for 1 p.m. Eastern tomorrow. I'll be back. I'll be live. By then, GameStop will have already been trading for 3.5 hours. So a lot could happen between now and the next live stream, right? After hours went up plus 1.72%. Tomorrow, who knows what the pre-market will look like? You never truly know in the pre-market or the post-market. And when the market opens, we'll kind of see what the stock trades towards during the day. And what will that mean going into earnings? I have no idea. We'll have to find out, right? Thank you guys so much for watching. I appreciate it. Have a good night, all.